you guys have unlocked the joy of learning how to be a sovereign citizen, thanks to a lady we discovered the other day wearing a Cat in the Hat onesie, explaining how taxes aren't real. So it's time for us to learn today how to be true sovereign citizens and retake our freedom as individual citizens governing ourselves for the betterment of our own lives. Let's take a look here. Sovereignty lessons. Let's go.
Unless you have coverage at this time that shows this vehicle listed on it, I will arrest
If you haven't watched the full video, go watch that. And if you're someone who has been asking about sovereignty, all of these different concepts, I want you to watch the full thing, because I wanted to point out to y'all how calm he is. Okay, this officer clearly is getting very aggressive. He's getting frustrated and he's threatening to arrest him, right? And he just sits there, he pulls out his paperwork, he's very calm. You don't see any fear on his face. He doesn't show any fear. And that's because he has worked on his mindset, okay? And at the very end of the video, he says it feels great to be free. He's not even faced.
You just gotta have the freedom mindset, okay? When you deal with cops, in order to avoid being arrested, you just have to believe you're free, okay?
By this interaction, right? So the very first thing that you need to do before you start collecting all these documents and you start doing all this research, obviously I want y'all to do research and learn about this, but not from a place of I need to take all these actions, because that is from a fear mindset, okay? You're coming from a fear mindset of
If you don't fear the cops, they won't arrest you. The cops won't shoot you. That's crazy.
oh, I didn't know any of this and now I need to do
I do have to say, this lady looks like she has the eyes of somebody who is like literally like punched a cop in the dick and expected no retaliation whatsoever.
all of this to feel okay, right? You need to feel okay regardless. This is why I made the video that I did telling y'all about the next steps that you need to take. And
There are non-white sovereign citizens. It's just that their interactions with police when they try to pull sovereign citizen shit tend to not go nearly as well.
none of it was related to documentation or doing specific research on these topics, because the very first thing you need to do is to get your mind right. You need to be able to think clearly, to regulate your emotions, because you will run into these situations and you will have to explain yourself clearly and coherently. And if you are emotional and reactive the way that a lot of folks are in the comments of my videos right now, the same people that are asking about, well, how do we do this? How do we do this? Right? You're fighting with people in the comments, so I can tell that you're not ready.
Yeah, look, guys, you just have to, you just have to have the freedom mindset. You just need to work on being a calm, reasonable person, like most sovereign citizens do, like this guy, calm and reasonable.
You are in contempt, Mr. Chichalgate. If you don't be quiet right now, I will have you arrested.
We're in Eureka, Montana, and the man wearing the no hunting
Oh, god damn it, Annie. Nope. Anyway, this guy, calm, totally reasonable, walking around wearing a tricorn hat and a sign on his body saying no trespassing that he thinks will keep the court from seizing him. Guys, did you know that if you just wear a no trespassing sign as a sovereign citizen, they can't arrest you? Because you have the sign on. Anyway, A+ mentality on this guy.
To take that kind of responsibility, right? To do all of this work. I'm not here to be mean to y'all, but I'm just calling you out, right? I'm telling you that the very first step is to work on your mind so that you know who you are and you start understanding as you
Can't
are
arrest me, I'm
learning
dummy thick.
that you are not what they have deceived you to believe, right? As you're doing this research, and if you're in a very reactive state because you're not eating right, you're constantly drinking tap water, you're consuming all kinds of negative media, your mindset isn't in the right
I forgot there's a lot of overlap between sovereign citizens and people who think that if you drink tap water, you're being poisoned by the government to be docile. God, dude. It's the fluoride in the water.
Right place, your body's screwed up, right? You're going to freak out. You're going to freak out. You're going to be just a mess. Right?
Emily,
And
thank
I
you very
want
much for
to help
subscribing.
y'all. I want to help y'all to start working on your mindset. So this means meditating. This means starting to shift your lifestyle, right? Shifting your diet, shifting the content that you consume, shifting the way that you think, right? That's the very first step. If you haven't watched my video on next steps to take, it's a video where there's a white background.
But, Your Honor, I shifted my mindset. Please don't send me to jail.
And I have words behind me. I made a list for y'all of things that you can do to start getting your mind right, start getting your body right, so that you can be just like the guy in this video who's completely calm in a situation that made me anxious watching it. I was afraid. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I would react in that situation. I would be so anxious, right? And I don't think that I would be able to articulate myself and stay as calm as he has, right? So that's the very first step, okay? I wanted to point that out to y'all. Start y'all on the right path, right? And y'all can get there, okay? It's just we have to make sure that we're doing things in the right order, because if you don't, you're gonna be overwhelmed. You're gonna get reactive.
Hello,
and you're
Lily
not going
from the
to
Discord.
Show up
How you doing?
the way that you want to show up, right? But if you feel like you've worked on your mindset sufficiently, you're completely in alignment with the truth of who you are, you can calibrate to the whole of who you are very easily, then of course do the research, get the documents and all of that. But I'm telling y'all, first step is your mindset.
Unless you have
Okay, I do want to just say, after this first video, the thing about sovereign citizen mommies is I think that a lot of people don't realize they're the missing link, right? Like, when we talk about crystal mommies becoming like fascies, and like how like new age spiritual woo is kind of one of the entry points to like the fascist pipeline. This is what we're talking about. Like going full on like sovereign citizen is kind of like
Wrong for sympathizing with sovereign citizens.
it like leads you into this Nazification pipeline. They go, oh, you know, really law is just a state of mind, baby. And then it just like devolves into like, I don't know, watching who's that one sex pervert? Russell Brand. There you go. And then from there, it's just a hop and a skip to Nick Fuentes. Also, Olympians, thank you for the $5 dono. Sovereign citizens are such a good example of no laws for the lion and many laws for the oxen is freedom. Yeah. She's a sovereign citizen professor. She is, chat. Also, gotta get these numbers up. All right. Now, we need to watch the next one in the playlist. We need to learn how to become true sovereign citizens.
Welcome to Sovereignty Lessons Day 1. Let's talk about your birth certificate. I had people asking
Jesus
in my
Christ.
comments about birth certificates, what's the deal with them, so let's break it down. We're going to look at a certificate of birth, which is public, versus a birth certificate, which is
God, dude. A certificate of birth versus a birth certificate. You see, they're secretly trying to trick you with all these bureaucratic forms and whatnot. What are you talking about? Oh yeah, you just need all of the secret paperwork. Come on, dude.
just private, and I'm going to give you all examples. So for reference, this is a certificate of birth. This is public, and this is what the government uses to have jurisdiction over you, and if you have children, over your children. This is the document that hands over jurisdiction to the government. Okay, we'll get more into that. This is a record of the birth. Okay, so there's a difference of registering a birth versus recording a birth. This is a record of the birth. This is a birth certificate that certifies there was a being that was born. Okay, so two different things. Let's talk about the difference between registering and recording. Okay, so when you're born, you get a birth certificate. That's in the private. Okay, this is the record of your birth or your child's birth. And that gets sent off to the United States of America, and a new trust is created, and then that is documented on a certificate of birth. People were asking me, how do we, what do we do in terms of, like, how do we free our children from this system, right? Well, here's the thing. When you register something, you are handing over your rights.
Yep, that's right. If you ever got a piece of software in the 90s and registered it on the AOL internet, you handed over your rights by registering it online. You buffoon, you fool. You were born in a hospital instead of in a shack off a county road? Well, you just signed over your life's rights and your baby's rights to the government. You gotta read the terms of service. Yeah, did none of you read the terms of service when you were born as like a little baby? You handed over your rights when your parents got a birth certificate. When the hospital made a birth certificate for their own records and then registered it with the state.
Okay, you don't know that you're doing that. Okay, this is the same thing with when you get a certificate of marriage versus a marriage certificate, two different things. Again, when you're registering your vehicle, right? Same thing. You're handing over your rights. You're saying, this is what energetically is happening.
Yeah, paying to register your car and keep that registration renewed. That's handing over your rights. You're definitely not going to get pulled over if you don't have a little sticker on your car indicating that it's registered. No, sir. Just ignore laws. It's going to work out well for you.
Happening is you are energetically saying, I cannot be trusted with this. Please take it and rule over me. Oh, please, overlords. Okay,
Why did she do an accent? Okay, also to clarify, in case some of you might fall for this, none of what she's saying is true. She's just living in the sovereign citizen bubble that is hilarious to watch just explode upon any contact with reality whatsoever. Yeah, what was that accent, though? Was she doing like an Indian accent for some reason?
I know that you're not consciously doing that, but that's what's happening, and that is what we've been conditioned to do. Whereas when you're recording,
they genuinely this subtype of conservative genuinely believe they found the up down left right A B start like cheat code for just dealing with the law and police.
Something, you're just putting it on the public record, right? So when it comes to birth certificates,
yeah, I needed to give the
our
disclaimer,
children, right, and get a certificate of birth. We want to just get a birth certificate that's going to record that birth, and that's the process that we want to take. And then
I once walked away from a cute guy who was hitting on me because he told me he didn't pay taxes because he had registered as a charitable corporation, annulling his birth certificate. Oh my god. You saved yourself there, okay? That guy was heading straight to IRS jail.
And we want to teach our children as soon as they're able to understand what a legal fiction is, how to operate in the system that they've been born into, right? How to live as a sovereign being, as a flesh and blood man and woman, right? But that starts with us learning that first, right? Learning all of the rules, learning how the game is played, learning how to stand in our power and in our rights. So that's why I'm starting this series for us where we can learn and get better together. Anyway, if you've stuck around this long, my name is Lisa. Please follow me and follow along with the series as we learn about sovereignty together. Welcome to Sovereignty Lessons Day 1.
This lady is way too far gone. I hope none of you are watching this being like, I can fix her. Like, no, you can't. You can't fix a sovereign citizen, all right? You just gotta turn and walk away. I'm running from her? Yeah. So the way to become a flesh and blood sovereign being is to renounce your birth certificate and become a corporation? Apparently. All right. Next one.
This is crazy. They're literally putting it in your face. They're saying you are
Your babies are cattle. Oh my god. It's so, like, it's so needlessly escalating. Proof of the state calling you and your children cattle. Chattel. Hashtag Admiral Maritime Law. Chattels. Yes, truly all Americans are chattel slaves. There's truly no difference between the modern American's position and chattel slavery. Oh my god, dude. Alright, brace for mental damage, chat.
This is crazy. They're literally putting it in your face. They're saying you are cattle, your children are cattle. If you've been watching some of my other videos, then you are probably wondering, well, you talk about this legal entity a lot. Has it always been that way? It has not. Let's take a look at the history of birth certificates. So here's an official
Oh my
government
god.
website.
Is her entire ideology predicated on birth certificates? The post satire is hitting hard. Yeah, how do you even make fun of people like this?
It's from the U.S. Navy. We have records from 1884 to 1912, okay, and sometimes up to 1928. Okay, so they specifically 1912 is what we're gonna focus on here. So they have records up to 1912. Why is that? Because
Olympians, thank you for the $5 dono.
What's wrong with being a sovereign citizen?
Everything. You're just honestly, sovereign citizenship is an ideology that just exports mental illness to the people around you. Okay.
And there's the registration of your birth, which are two different things, and we're taught to think that these are the same thing. If you watch my birth certificate video and my sovereignty lessons playlist, then you'll see that process that they go through. So we're going to focus on 1912, okay? Now here's another example from Ancestry.com. They're saying we have birth records from 1912 to 2015. The reason is because this is the year that the certificates of birth were established as we know them now, in order to create the legal entity, your legal entity that I've been talking about in my other videos. So
Okay, so her brand of sovereign citizenship is that the real United States ended in 1912. She literally thinks that you had rights.
Can you give me a serious answer?
She literally thinks that the United States had rights until 1912. And then your rights as a human were infringed. Can I give you a serious answer? Okay. How do I explain this? Sovereign citizens are bad because, one, they don't recognize laws. So their position is basically they can break any law they so choose. And the state can't do anything about it because they reject the legal fiction of law itself. They believe that they are self-governing entities, meaning that they are not beholden to the state. They use this ideological framework to refuse to pay taxes, refuse to actually be citizens of the state. And as long as there is a state, there's going to be an inherent conflict between people like this and the state. This is, again, like, if you try this with an actual cop and you, like, punch a cop and they're like, I don't recognize your authority to arrest me, man, you're gonna get arrested anyway. Like, the entire purpose of law is to direct the violence of the state. And whether or not you agree with their legal fiction doesn't actually give you anything or improve your life in any way. It is conspiratorial nonsense. It is conspiratorial thinking that ruins your life and also the lives of people around you if you fall prey to it. So generally speaking, I would discourage individuals going into sovereign citizenry to not be that way because they are going to hurt themselves. And they're also just going to hurt the people around them. And it's just not good. It's not helpful. It's not useful. And I feel like that's a pretty solid basis for saying, hey, you probably shouldn't be this. But also, if everyone adopted this ideology en masse, society would cease to exist. It would be Mad Max. It's basically a very extreme version of libertarianism, like libertarianism in the sense of like libertarian capitalism. You know, it is a pathway towards the death of society. So also, if you're being obnoxious and insufferable to everyone, they'll hate you. So again, when I say you'll export your mental illness to everyone around you, it's because you're building a mental bubble, a media bubble for yourself. And if anyone tries to like talk sense to you, you're just going to reject them, push them away, isolate yourself, and or suck them into this weird bubble you're living in and destroy their lives too. This just sounds like anarchism.
This just sounds like anarchism.
Yeah, except anarchists aren't stupid. I mean, some of them are, but like most anarchists aren't just going to be like, yeah, you can just ignore what the cops say. They won't do anything, bro. Trust me. Also, there's an international conspiracy of banking conglomerates that imposed maritime law on the United States in 1912, bro. And it's actually not even the real United States anymore. You don't have to listen to the rules. You're just loyal to the old United States that ended in 1912. Like, at least most anarchists recognize the reality of the system that they currently live in, whereas sovereign citizens don't. They are just gone, baby. They are just long, long gone into the fields of madness. You might end up buried in an unmarked grave if you fuck around with the wrong cop. True. The difference is that anarchists live in a society, maybe? I mean, the difference is anarchists don't typically have to believe conspiratorial nonsense in order to be anarchists. Anarchists are usually dedicated to figuring out how to live in the actual society they exist within. And they aren't actually all that interested in just like inventing, international Jewish cabals to like direct their dissatisfaction with reality on, you know? Yeah, no, they're basically sovereign citizens are ANCAPs. I said libertarian capitalist before, but just like ANCAP is the phrase I was looking for. So I guess if you considered ANCAPs actual anarchists, which I don't, that subgroup would probably accept sovereign citizens with open arms. All right. Yeah, no, Lily from Discord. Yeah. The equivalent of like the sovereign citizen movement would be like the Reichsbürger movement in Germany, where they had like that conspiracy that like they just needed to reinstall monarchy in Germany again, and it would bring back like prosperity to the nation. What separates an ANCAP from an actual anarchist? Well, basically, ANCAPs believe in creating feudal monopolies. Replacing like basically creating a form of feudalism, just with instead of kingdoms, you have companies, and that is the inevitable outcome of anarcho-capitalist thought. Whereas actual anarchists look to eliminate hierarchy from society, or to minimize it to the greatest possible degree, so that everyone can interact as equals in terms of power and influence, etc. So, like, there's a lot of thought by anarchists given to how to sustainably run an equitable community. As opposed to, like, ANCAPs who are just like, yeah, whoever has money should be able to do whatever they want. All right, back to this bitch.
So now let's look at this incredible marketing ploy, I will say, from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in 1912. So now here they are peddling their BS. This is how they tricked people, okay, into registering their children. And this is why it's so commonplace now, and why almost every child that's born in the US gets this legal entity attached to them. So let's read this together. This is a notice from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, which is a business, by the way, for-profit public business.
Yeah, by the way, this is the argument that sovereign citizens often use, which is that some of the some states were founded by different companies registered to like different like kingdoms in like the 1700s, 18 or not 1800s, but like 1700s, 1600s. So like they're like, yes, it was founded by the East India Company, therefore it's not a real state. I got news for you. That's not how this works, actually.
So it says, birth registration. The legislature of Pennsylvania in 1905 enacted a law requiring every child born within the state to be registered with the local registrar of the district in which the birth occurred. Also, that the original certificate should be filed and permanently preserved in the Bureau of Vital Statistics of the state.
Yeah, that part of the, it also depends on the branch of sovereign citizen thought you are agreeing with. So it's interesting that she believes that, like, essentially in this kind of corporate idea of the sovereign citizen has of America, which is that, America is a corporation. Like, what we are currently living in is just one massive corporation, and the way to deal with it on equal terms is to incorporate yourself, which then protects your rights and your identity under the real law of America.
State Department of Health at the state capitol. So they're saying, if you don't do this, then you're going to be in trouble. This is the law, right? They're letting us know this is the law. Okay. They're saying certified copies of these birth records may be secured at any time. They're saying, don't worry. Even though you file them, we'll still give you a copy of the record. Such copies are not only important but necessary for purposes of transmission to foreign countries, for establishing the age of children, for school entrance, for labels, for labor certificates.
Yeah, why would a country in the 1900s, in the early 1900s, need to make copies of documents when only one document is in existence? Why would they need to make copies when there's no such thing as a digital version of your document? It boggles the mind to even think about why. What logistical reason would they have to need multiple versions of the same document? What is bro waffling about? She's basically saying that they take your real birth certificate and they send you a fake one.
And many other legal formalities. We're using the word
the thing she's saying is that we are all subject to a massive conspiracy where the US government takes your real paperwork, the original documents, and then sends you a copy, and the copy makes you beholden to the American corporation. Yeah, this is like absolutely insane shit. It's dumber than that. Grifters created actual corporations named the same as every state in Delaware. The corporation registration got revoked really quickly, but those registrations were published and the grifters can point to those official listings to prove their claims. So cool.
Legal, which is important. The responsibility for registering a child is placed upon the physician or midwife in attendance at the time of birth, or if no physician or midwife is present, then the duty falls upon the father or mother. So let's read between the lines here. They're saying, if you, doctors, physicians, midwives, and parents don't do this, you're going to be in trouble. So this is literally just threat and coercion, okay? So now they're saying...
Yep, that is indeed what laws are. Laws threaten and coerce people into doing things they might not otherwise do. That is true. Yep, you are describing the basic premise of law.
Let's see, where do we leave off? If the birth occurs in an institution, the person in charge is responsible. They're saying, we're going to hold you responsible. Threat and coercion. They're saying this law is designed to protect the civil and legal rights of your child in the years to come. So they're kind of doing a little bit of word twisting here, okay? Because we have rights as living men or women of the law, of the land, sorry. We have the common law, which is the law of the land, which are rights that we are born with under God, but
Jesus. Yes. So you have the real law, the law of God.
they're saying your legal rights, okay? They're making it seem like they're talking about those rights that you already have under common law, but that's not actually what they're talking about. They're talking about legal rights under the Admiralty Maritime law jurisdiction, okay?
Okay, so buckle yourselves in. If you haven't heard this phrase before, Admiralty Maritime Law, what she's talking about here is essentially a dog whistle for the Jews. Her argument here is that international banking conglomerates have pushed and used their influence to make maritime law the law of the land. And you can guess who exactly she believes are part of the banking conglomerates. You know, this is how, like, being, like, in the crystal mommy woo-woo sphere, like, can slowly suck you down into, like, this Nazification pipeline. Hey, Smelanie, we're talking about sovereign citizens.
So then it says here, let's see, for years to come, it is an inheritance to which every child is entitled. So now this is where the marketing comes in, okay? This is where the snake oil salesman tongue.
Yep. When they talk about international banking conglomerates, they're talking about the Jews. Nailed it. Lily from Discord, thank you very much for subscribing. I appreciate it. Thanks for being over on Twitch.
Comes out, and now they're saying, here's why, they're trying to appeal to your emotions, they're trying to appeal to your morality, trying to make you sound more responsible if you do this. All BS, all marketing ploy. Okay, so they're saying...
It's a marketing ploy. Oh my god, dude. Yes, the United States government marketing itself. Dude. Yeah, the U.S. government needs to buy up some billboard space, okay? Oh, God. Lily, thank you for gifting a tier 1 sub. I appreciate that as well. Thank you so goddamn much.
I'm having a hard time reading this. Maybe if I can zoom in, I don't know. Okay, so it says... Let's see, here's the comments. An inheritance to which every child is. It establishes at the time of identity, it establishes the identity of your child. It'll, when they can't have your mother or father to prove when they were born, blah, blah, blah.
Also, chat, this is why you get real lawyers instead of getting legal advice on TikTok, okay? I know lawyers are expensive, but, like, literally, like, the lawyer from The Simpsons would be a better person to represent you in court than this lady. Any advice from this lady?
See to it that your baby is properly registered. A baby that is worth having is surely worth registering.
So when she says rights from God, is that like basic human rights, and she doesn't like that they're called legal rights, even though there are laws protecting those rights? I think I'm going insane. Yeah, when she says basic human rights from God, what she's talking about is the concept of, like, natural law, like the idea that, like, God has granted you rights by virtue of you coming into existence, and you have certain rights that are inalienable from your person, which, like, isn't true. Like, you need to have those rights respected in law in order for you to functionally have those rights, generally speaking, you know? Becoming a paralegal, and I hope to be able to give actual advice one day. Hell yes, Melanie. Then consider this a crash course in what not to do when you are providing legal advice. And we are up to 40 subs, which means you guys get more segments, baby. But let's continue.
Give the baby a chance after years to know of your interest in its future welfare. So they're saying if you don't do this, you don't care about your baby. make it possible through registration for your child to be able to show in a legal way, okay, there's that word again, when and where it was born and who its parents were. So they're making it sound like, again, if you don't do this, then you're morally wrong. You're not doing the right thing for your child, okay? People nowadays register their cattle, horses, dogs. They're calling children domestic animals, guys. I'm not making this up. Like, this is right. I was laughing.
Well, they didn't have a whole lot of laws in 1912 regarding like registering automobiles. That kind of came a little bit later. But like you had to register your horses and stuff because those were the equivalent of having a car. You had to register your cattle in case they got stolen, so they could be recognized if they were stolen. Like my goodness, they're not in this document. They're not calling children cattle. They're just talking about the need of the bureaucracy of the state to figure out who lives where. This isn't like a shocking conspiracy.
Laughing so hard at this, I was like, they're literally telling us, you are chattel, you are cattle. And if y'all don't know what that means, look up chattel, C-H-A.
Chattel. You need to look up chattel. Chattel. Chattel slavery.
A-T-T-E-L. In the Black's Law Dictionary. It's really going to open your eyes up. So, here we go. So it says, cattle, horses, dogs, because they are proud of them and because this adds to their value. Put the babies in the same class with the domestic animals and they will, in the coming years, do more than the animals will do. They will thank you if you are living and honor you if you are no longer with them to hear their thanks. July 1st.
This document is saying that because it will make it easier for them to be able to exist within the bureaucracy. That's why.
Paladin lost BWA Esquire Sovereign Citizen Legal Counsel. Works on contingency? No. Money down. Chantel?
Chantel? Paladin, thank you for the $10 dono, dude. TikTok TOS. Wait, what's happening? Chateau? Is it hyperbolic to say that yoga may be harmful for some people's mental health? I mean, if you really hate yoga, I'm sure. It can be awful to be forced to do something you really hate. Putting 2 more up on the docket. Thank you so goddamn much, Paladin. Oh, chattel is TikTok TOS? That's silly. Yeah, if that's true, that's very silly. I mean, she also bleeped out things like taxes. When she talked about taxes, she added a bleep to her video. So, you know.
1912. From the Commissioner of Health. It's right there, guys. I mean, you can't make this shit up. I'm gonna be making more videos like.
You can't make this shit up, she says. I think you might be able to. Something's just tickling in my brain, indicating that you might just be able to make up a whole lot of horse shit about this. Something tells me about that. Oh, like, okay, like yoga is bad for your mental health because it is associated with like Eastern spiritual beliefs. I think if that's the case, I think that's silly. I would consider that hyperbolic, yeah. Like if somebody's like, oh yes, when you do yoga, you're consorting with demons. Like I grew up with that background, and it's just silly. It's silliness. But like I guess if you do come from that background and you sincerely believe that doing yoga is like putting your mind and soul at risk for like demonic possession or something, then yeah, that would probably be bad for your mental health. But in reality, where that's not the case, where like yoga's just good exercise for you, no, it's fine. Like in the sense where like some people might experience distress while doing it because they believe insane things. Sure, but that's true of people who believe insane things, generally. I've seen people getting into weird and new age weird stuff. All of them do yoga. I will say that if you are going to like a yoga studio, like yoga certainly has different cultures depending on like what yoga studio you're going to, right? So you can find extremely culty yoga instructing communities, right? That could be true. I hadn't thought about that. That could be a factor of like getting people involved into like new age spiritualism. But I don't think inherently, if you're just using it for exercise, that is a risk. I think you should be aware though that if you go into an environment like that, there are going to be people who are going to try and like peer pressure you into engaging with kind of this new age spiritualism and like, you know, cleanse your chakras or whatever. The same is true, by the way, of like chiropractors. Like chiropractors are scam artists and are also going to try and hoodwink you with spiritualist new age mumbo jumbo. So just go get like a normal massage. That stuff really isn't real? What stuff really isn't real? Like chiropractic? Chiropractors? Can you update Discord link on your site? The Discord link? Is the Discord link on riverboat.gg not working? Also, the chatbot on riverboat.gg is not working for whatever reason. Oh wait, maybe it is. Wait. riverboat.gg/discord. It works for me. If Lily from Discord, if you just type into the address bar riverboat.gg/discord, it should get you there. Should get you a fresh evergreen invite. The founder of Chiropracti. Is it Chiropracti? The word keeps like tripping up my brain. Literally cited his dreams as his source. Yeah. But if I get Reiki to balance my chakras, I can open a quantum vortex to a higher vibrational spiritual plane. Yeah, I mean, maybe part of it is that I grew up, while I did grow up in like a evangelical Christian conservative mindset and like community, we also lived relatively close to like a cult headquarters, like a worldwide cult headquarters. That would run they would run ads at the local movie theater about how they could teach you how to astrally project from your body, and like they worshipped like a blue light and stuff. Like, yeah, if you get like sucked into like a spiritual community like that, like, yeah, it can have incredibly negative effects on you. Can I get fire attacks if I open my chakras? Unfortunately, no. That's wacky. It was pretty wacky. They did their business in a literal golden pyramid in the middle of the Midwest. Anyway, moving on to the next one of these.
Welcome to day 2 of Sovereignty.
Oh boy. Prepare yourselves for mental damage. Living in the public versus living in the private. Sovereign citizens make a distinction between these two. Living as a public entity owned by America versus living as a private entity owned by no one.
Lessons. Today we're going to talk about
Yeah, clear the egg. The Ekankarians, the Temple of Ek. Yeah.
living in the public versus living in the private. When we talk about the public versus the private, we are talking about your straw man versus who you actually are as a flesh and blood man or woman, a child of God. In the public, we're talking about your legal entity, the straw man, created through a certificate of birth fraudulently when you were born, without your knowing, without your parents knowing. And that video, if you haven't watched that, is the first video in this series. Please go ahead and watch that, linked right here, and then you can go ahead and watch this video. What happens when you are registered into the public, you're constantly getting tricked into believing you are your straw man with every interaction that you have with public officials. That's why they're called public officials, like policemen, government officials. You are...
Yeah, again, when you're... all this sovereign citizenry shenanigans is designed to basically say you live in the Matrix. You need to wake up, Neo, and see the world as it really is, which is that the police, the judges, your elected officials are all lying to you in order to own you and keep you controlled in the Matrix. This is their entire, like, the entire appeal of this is like feeling like you're Neo from the Matrix and you're free from like all restraints. And of course it's nonsense. It is 100% nonsense, but there's an appeal and a freedom for people who believe in this. Like, that's the fundamental appeal of conspiracy. It makes you feel powerful, you know? Even if the information is wrong, up until that moment where you butt heads with reality, it makes you feel very powerful.
Are constantly being tricked into believing that you are your legal fiction.
I have not heard of
this looks like
Undertale.
if you get stopped by the cops,
Yellow.
they ask you for your ID.
Also, hello, Kfro.
They are contracting with you. They're making an offer. If you study contract law, you'll understand these terms. And if y'all want me
Oh man, I want her to explain contract law to me. Please.
to go more into that, I will in another video. But when they ask you for your ID, they're just making an offer of, do you agree that you are this all caps name entity?
Oh, okay, yeah, if you present your ID, then you're beholden to their law. As long as you don't have an ID, you're free. You are free. Uh-huh.
That, again, was created through your certificate of birth. So, let's backtrack a little bit here. That was an example of an interaction that you might have where you are being tricked into believing that you are a straw man. So what happens is when we are born into the private. We are born as sovereign children of God, flesh and blood beings, man or woman.
I used to be in some into some really deep, dark conspiracies, and one of the reasons I was attracted to them was because it made me feel smarter than everyone else. Felt like I had secret knowledge that would help me save the world if I could only share it. It was a bad time, and I'm glad I'm out now. Glad to see you're out too, Brianna Huffman.
Now, then...
Because, honestly, it's really hard to escape this mindset, you know?
Your birth certificate,
So, mad
which
respect.
is a record of your birth, is sent off to the United States of America, which we talked about in the last video. There's a trust that is created in your name, and then there's an all-caps name that is created, which is a commercial entity. It is a corporation that is made out of your name, that is all caps. This is why when you look at official documents, government documents, your name is always going to be in all caps. And that is what we talk about being registered into the public. So when people talk about sovereignty and becoming a sovereign citizen, which is an oxymoron in and of itself, but when people talk about doing those processes, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about exiting the public and entering back into the private, which we already all live in the private. We just don't realize it because we constantly get tricked.
Yep, because you've been tricked into being in the Matrix.
Into thinking that we only live in the public. So
Shai Hulud, was that a Heroes reference? My God, I haven't thought about that show in years.
This is the duality of the world that we live in, and it's essential for us to learn this duality and to understand the rules of the game that we are playing. So the thing with the private is living in the private means living under God's law. It means living by...
Just real quick, I noticed this reply. My son's certificate of live birth from the state is not all caps. What does that mean? It's irrelevant. They log you as dead, lost at sea until you reclaim. They use the birth certificate number and an eye to use your trust's estate. Oh my god! These people. Thank you, TikTok user Scrappy Doo. Oh my god.
I can go into the 10 maxims of natural law, which also appears in commercial law.
It's because it's America's established under maritime law. Let's go. You're lost at sea, baby.
And that is what living in the private is. It's very simple. And chaos is where Satan thrives. Chaos is how we are disillusioned. Living in the public is complex. This is why there's all these man-made laws. Everything is complicated, and there's so many laws that you can't even imagine how many there are, right? And you're constantly living in a state of confusion and fear that you might be breaking a law and might get in trouble. When we exit the public and we re-enter into the private rightfully, which again, we always live in the private, but when you consciously start living in the private and start removing yourself from the public, this is where life starts to get much easier. This is where you can start to opt out of things like paying taxes, which is voluntary.
Good
And by the
luck.
way, you don't need any kind of certificate. You don't need to correct your status to live in the private. We already all are living in the private. There are things that you can do to make your life easier, like claiming your legal name, registering your legal name so that you have control of it. That does make it easier for you to achieve certain things, but that requires you getting clear on what your goals are, right? So a lot of people kind of go about it in this unclear matter where they don't even know why they're doing status correction, other than the fact that they're afraid and they are learning all of this information very quickly, and it feels very staggered and it's scattered. And
this is just called being like have you this is like someone trying to come up to you and pitch you like, have you ever been confused at the DMV? Well, that's because there's a secret plot to own you, sheeple. Like, that's in my head. Like, this is oh, have you ever been frustrated with government bureaucracy? The reason you've been frustrated is because the government's fake. You can just opt out of it, baby. Like, actually crazy.
and they just feel like that's the right thing to do. However, exiting the public, entering back into the private consciously requires a mindset shift. There are actions you can take lawfully to do that also, but you do not have to. And that's what I need y'all to understand, is that there is no paper certificate. No man on earth can tell you that you are a child of God, that you are sovereign, and that you have a right to live your life the way that you desire to live it.
Oh yeah, also sovereign citizens definitely like wrap their beliefs in like evangelical Christian fundamentalism. Like it's insane, dude.
Just like anyone else on this planet. Only God can tell you that. And God...
Yeah, like they believe that their sovereign rights come from God, and everything else is a legal fiction on top of that.
God has done that, right? I hope that cleared up things for y'all. Please follow me and follow along with this series. If you want to learn more about this, I'll be going more into contract law. We'll be looking at commercial law. We'll be looking at natural law. And we'll get into trust law eventually. There is a learning curve here. I will try to be as thorough as I can, And please leave y'all's questions below so that we can cover everything that y'all desire to learn about. Welcome to
Vixen.
day 2 of Sovereignty Lessons.
It's ugly, like look at you. It's a damn shame. Just remember all caps when you spell the man's name. BWA Doom.
Thank you for the $10 dono, Paladin. Getting us even closer to new segments indeed. There we go. Folks, we are doing a subathon where every time you donate subs, it gets us more content. Let's go. Basically, every 5 subs, we're adding short form content like these Sovereign Citizen lessons, but there are also some 10 sub segments that I think you'll really enjoy that are a bit longer and meatier. So let's keep it going, folks. We got so much to do today, and my makeup is not done yet, so please don't judge me harshly. Also, we have been going for 2.5 hours now. If you would be so kind, consider hitting the follow button on Twitch, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, and consider dropping some subs or donos. If you're watching over on Twitch, you can watch ad-free over on riverboat.gg. And if you're thinking about financially supporting me, consider doing it on riverboat.gg, where I get to keep 100% of your dono and sub, which I very, very much appreciate, because that is how I refuse to die. I still want them to mold about, I still want them molding about George Carlin. Oh, we're gonna mold about George Carlin. Don't you worry. We got a lot of segments today we gotta get to. Wait, your skin looks great. What moisturizer do you use? So I use a Korean skincare brand called Yawadam. Would recommend. Very good. But I also use some products from the Body Shop, like there's a product called Body Yogurt that they sell that's actually quite good. Kind of helps with like dead skin, like shearing some of that off and tightening up the face. It's good stuff. Did they create AI Carlin? We're gonna get there, okay? Don't get ahead of me. Don't cheat. No reading ahead. How do I get better at makeup? Well, the main thing is figure out a routine you can do. Because once you have a routine, everything else becomes a lot easier. You can just practice that routine. And once you get comfortable doing that, then you can kind of branch out and try new things with it, right? So like right now, I just finished doing the the foundation. Now moving on to doing some contouring with some contouring powder from Tarte. And we're gonna move on to another Sovereign Citizen video. We gotta finish all these. There are 9 videos, baby.
Welcome to Sovereignty Lessons.
Oh no. So, for reference, I did not actually like pre-watch any of these or even look at them. But I know that everything in this video about how republics aren't democracies and democracies aren't republics is going to drive me fucking insane.
It's day 3. Today we're talking about the difference between a republic and a democracy. So currently we live in a democracy that is running alongside a republic. Hence, when we look at the Pledge of Allegiance, actually there was a little bit of drama around the Pledge of Allegiance where they were trying to get the Pledge of Allegiance removed from schools because it has the word republic in it, and I'm about to tell you why. Now the reason is because we live in a democracy. What is a democracy? A democracy operates by majority rule, which means that we can come up with whatever rules we want, put laws into place
Hell yeah, trans girl Jane.
on what is the most popular
Have
ideas
fun.
and opinions at the moment. Now, a republic, on the other hand, is based on God's laws. It's based on a set of rules. Well, I say God's laws, but it's just based on a set of rules that we have all collectively decided we will follow, and there isn't any room. It's very difficult to change the laws in a republic because we just go by the specific set of laws. Now, there are pros and cons to each system. However,
God's
the
laws,
reason
baby.
that this country
God's laws, baby. God is what determines whether something's a republic versus a democracy. What? Like, come on. Like, who's that person who was donating earlier about, like, why are sovereign citizens bad? This is why. They're completely detached from reality. Like if somebody is this detached from reality, like, how much more of a push would it take to make them, like, a violent extremist who's a threat to everyone around them?
Utilizes a democracy, or I should say the forces which make up this country that claim to make it a country when it's really not.
Oh my
The
God.
reason that they choose democracy is because they can popularize an idea, program the masses through media, and get the masses to agree with certain
They...
popular beliefs, and then they can put laws into place however they see.
See what I mean, though? Like, oh, the powerful international banking cartels that control the media. Where have we heard that one before, folks?
Fit. There is not a lot of benefit to having a republic because then there's not a lot of flexibility. Now I'm going to roll a clip of this kind of programming happening real time on the news.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This was put out by a conservative organization. The conservative group, the Sinclair Group, owns all of the these networks and put this out. Oh my God.
Extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is 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 extremely dangerous to our democracy.
The other piece we have to understand about a republic versus a democracy is that a republic operates in the private, okay, the private domain, meaning
No, that
via
doesn't mean
flesh and
anything.
blood, man or woman. When this
That
country
doesn't
was
mean
founded,
anything.
It was founded as a republic. That is what the founding fathers wanted this country to be, and over time it has been shifted to a democracy, and I think that the founding fathers are rolling over in their graves if they saw what was happening today. And then a democracy
We're a representative republic. That's democracy. What?
on the other hand, is operated via the public, which is everything that we see, and the public is all commercial. It's all based on commerce, it's all based on money. That's why all of our laws and all of our rules and everything is based around money, right? How they can make money off
No,
of
that's capitalism. That's what capitalism is. That's our mode of economy. You're talking about several different things. No. No. This one's only 3 minutes long, and it's still the one that's most infuriating to me. I'm rolling over in my own grave, and I'm not even dead yet. Right? Come on. Stop saying silly things so I can finish my makeup. God.
of you by creating all kinds of laws for you to accidentally break and then make you pay up for breaking said laws, right? So that's another benefit of having a democracy, is you can come up with all these BS laws and then charge money for people breaking those laws and turn a profit over it. So democracy
You... Democracies make laws. Part of being a democracy is the method by which laws are made. Democratically. See, this is the other thing. Sovereign citizens just completely misdiagnose the problem in their lives. Right? Like, this type of conspiratorial thinking makes you feel empowered, but it's actually disempowering you by misinforming you about what the core issues of society are and how to go about trying to fix them. These people waste their entire goddamn lives thinking about this shit. They direct all of their time and energy towards this crazy nonsense instead of actually towards, like, methods or ideas or organizing that would actually benefit their lives and the lives of their loved ones, you know?
democracy is all based on profit and money. It's a little bit kind of like a part 2 to the previous video, so if y'all haven't watched the other sovereignty lessons videos, the last one that I did was based on living in the private versus living in the public, so if you want a little bit more information on that, then go ahead and watch that video, and go ahead and follow me to stay updated on the rest of the series. Welcome to Sovereignty Lessons.
I'm filled with naught but rage, incandescent, roaring, destructive rage. God, that's just capitalism. God. How y'all doing, folks? We've been going for almost 3 hours now. Remember to hit the follow button. And remember to like the goddamn YouTube stream. When you like the stream, it helps us get it out in front of even more people. And honestly, when you guys like the stream, I can tell because more and more conservatives find it, and that just tickles me and definitely does not tickle them. Continue doing it post-haste, please. Well, that's the thing, Zakina. Generally speaking, if you're able to talk to a conservative, and you can talk in a more... If you can talk conservative language, you can generally get conservatives to agree on leftist solutions, right? Like, if you, instead of saying, we need to pass the Green New Deal today, if instead you're like, we need to bring solar panel manufacturing back to America, and, you know, too much of it's been going overseas to China. We need to bring that back to America. We need to turn rural America, the Rust Belt, back into the manufacturing hub of the United States. Like, if you talk about that in that way, you can basically get Republicans to agree with you on like 80% of the Green New Deal. There are entire like factory towns that have died across the Rust Belt, across West Virginia. Wow, you know what we could do? We could repurpose those factories and construct wind turbines and solar panels, and we could invest in that and revive your struggling, dying towns. But instead, we don't actually couch our ideas in terms that they'll understand, unfortunately. I think the same is true with Christians if you can use religious language effectively. That's only true for some Christians. Fundamentalist religious folks aren't going to respond to religious language arguments because they are, frankly, too far gone and can just say, no, I disagree. God told me opposite, you know? Like, the problem with religious thinking is that if you go far enough into it, it becomes like just a thought terminating, right? You're doing it because God told you to. You know? I'm not even joking when I say I can get my conservative mom to agree on universal healthcare by calling insurance companies socialist. Yeah, like unironic. I'm not kidding about like changing the language to appeal to conservatives. I like if some young person wanted to run in the Republican Party and just like altered their language, there's a decent chance that they might be able to get Republicans down on like a lot of economic issues, you know? Let's see here. All right. Chat, we got 74 likes on the stream. We just need 26 more likes to hit 100. Let's go. I believe in you. You've already surpassed the funny number. I believe in us. Also, Dead Domain, thank you very, very much for the raid. Welcome, Raiders. I hope you guys had a nice time over in Dead Domain's stream. I'm sure you guys talked about a lot of really fun and interesting stuff. We are currently going over sovereign citizen stuff as part of a subathon. Basically, every 5 subs, you guys get a new sovereign citizen video. We're going through a playlist to teach you all how to be sovereign citizens, which involves apparently acknowledging that America doesn't exist. It's not real. And that the main difference between a republic and a democracy is that one of them relies on God's law. We're doing it. We're doing it. Get out your notepads. We're taking notes. Hashtag not legal advice. Do you really think Trojan horsing the Republican Party with progressives who are effective at talking about issues is an effective strategy? No, but it would be funny to see it work one time. Anyone in particular? We're talking about this lady, Lisa Ivanova, who has a... We came across her video, one of her latest videos a while back, a few days ago, and we're just going through her playlist because she invited people to learn more. And you know what? We're learning more whether we like it or not. So here we go. Also, I'm still doing my makeup. Don't judge me. And hit the follow button, you lovely bastards. Here we go. God, Dale. Oh my God. You know, sorry. Sadly, Siobhan, oh my God. Dale Gribble looks hinged compared to these people. Okay? The conspiracy theorist character on King of the Hill is more hinged to reality than any sovereign citizen.
Since day 3, today we're talking about the difference between a republic.
Okay, here we go.
Welcome to Sovereignty Lessons.
Wait, I plan to say, good sir / ma'am, rules of conduct say must show respect, but right there with you, this is Sovereignty Lesson Day 4. Ooh, we're learning about contract law today, folks. Also, apparently, apparently you, when you send a birth certificate to the government, you are ceding all of your rights and becoming chattel slaves. So just in case you didn't know, that's the sovereign citizen way. Ivanova. I don't know I can do that. I'm sorry. I'm too Midwestern. My exposure to Russian names is almost entirely thanks to the Red Alert series. I kid. I'm one of your YouTube subs. You're popping a lot harder on Twitch. Nice. You know, when people raid in, we're doing good. But you know, we're also popping on YouTube today. We got over 100 people watching right now on YouTube. It's nice. I saw a sovereign citizen illegally parked in front of a fire hydrant the other day. They were privately traveling a brand new Mercedes. Yeah, sovereign citizens also believe that if you just say you're traveling instead of driving, you can get out of any parking or driving violation. Like, you can go 100 miles an hour in a 55, and you're just traveling, so you're not subject to the laws of the land. It's silly as hell. Thiessen, LGT. I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna say LG. Yeah, I'm in the Midwest. I'm from Minnesota. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna finish blending so I stop looking like a clown.
Day 4. Today we're talking about contract law. I'm using this comment as an opportunity to talk about this, so let's get into it. But when it comes...
Oh, yeah, I just realized a bunch of new people are in here. If you don't know who I am, my name's Riverboat Jack. I talk about the news and politics. I'm a socialist. I talk about how we can change the political landscape of America to have democratic worker co-ops as a transitionary method to a better future, along with decommodifying things like healthcare, housing, etc. And if you guys have questions about any of that, let me know. I'm always happy to talk about any of that. And I'm a trans lady who uses she, her pronouns, so thank you for asking. Let's go. You have a lot of Midwestern fans. It's true. I speak their language of passive aggression and sitting in the corner at parties.
When it comes to contract law, there is the idea of remaining honorable versus being dishonorable. So let's talk about the difference between the two. Before we get into that, we need to talk about the art of offer and acceptance. That is what contract law is all about. A contract, whether it is written or an oral contract or an implied contract is all about offer and acceptance. So an offer can be something like an actual contractual offer, right? Like you're trying to buy a car and they say, okay, it'll be a $10,000 down payment.
The music is driving me
this
nuts.
car. That is an offer.
The music is also driving me nuts, but I just imagine it's like a town in Pokemon, or like some kind of like a Lavender Town music or something, you know? That's what I have to say. Oh, also I used to be a video game journalist, so I talk about video games a lot as well, and pop culture. Midwestern means passive aggression and sitting in the corner at parties. Never have been so offended by something I so fundamentally agree with. I resemble that remark. Hey, Randar the Barbarian, I just know my people, okay?
They're making you an offer, right? And it can be something as simple as, hey, do you want to go get ice cream with me? When it comes to responding to an offer, there
I was a game journalist during Gamergate Firebat. I did have to monitor like some of my friends' threads on Kiwi Farms back in the day to make sure like her bank account didn't get hacked into. Fun times when all your friends are being harassed by the internet. Good stuff. Video game journalism sounds so based. It was so much fun to do. I really, really enjoyed my job. Like, being able to be on kind of the cutting edge of like what video games as an art could be capable of was really, really cool to me with my English degree. And then COVID happened and I was out of a job and somehow fell into talking about politics online. Let's see. I was on the other side of that one, never doxed anyone though, or actually harassed anyone, honestly. Then I figured out, wait, trans people are real? That means you're one? Oh, yeah. I feel like that happened with a lot of people. A lot of people either fell way, way deeper into like the ethics and game journalism shit. So why am I doing that? And like fell in with like the Breitbart, like Steve Bannon op to like leverage disaffected gamers into like a new youth movement for conservatism. Or they became trans. And there's no in between. You can't convince me otherwise. He totally hijacked that shit. Yeah, like seriously, Steve Bannon, the campaign manager for Donald Trump, like got his start, or not got his more recent start in like the Trump era by having invested in Chinese gold farms in World of Warcraft. And he noticed like a lot of like incel type behavior in video games and realized he could weaponize it using Breitbart to kind of spearhead that, you know? Do you think that you might find your way back to video game journalism or include it in your present show somehow? I do play games on stream, and I do use games as like examples to talk about things sometimes. Like an example of that would be early back in my streaming days, or early back in the beginning of this stream, I talked a lot about the game Frostpunk as one of a game that like radicalized me politically, due to the fact that like it exemplifies basically how attractive authoritarian measures can become in harsher economic / environmental circumstances, and like how that is a reflection and a commentary on the dangers of like eco-fascism. And so like I talked a lot about how having that game kind of make me realize like, oh, in the future Republicans are already like practically genocidal about undocumented immigrants coming over the border, like, how much farther will they go when, like, the globe is on fire due to climate change? Like, cities are going underwater. There are climate change refugees just within America itself. And it's somewhat telling that when you play Frostpunk, there is no... There are very few mechanics that are as subtle as kind of the judgment you get at the end of a game of Frostpunk. But what's really interesting is that if you adopt too many policies to make it easier for yourself to make it to the end of a playthrough of Frostpunk, the game basically provides you kind of an epilogue about like how you lost your humanity in the face of all these challenges. The only way to get the good ending of Frostpunk is to not go down like the religious fundamentalism ideology track or the authoritarian state track. And like that is incredibly difficult to do. And I love how they use the mechanics of that game to really hammer home this point that like if we're not careful and we find ourselves blindsided by climate change in this way, like fascism, it becomes like a much starker battle between like fascist ideas and like simply surviving, you know? So like that would be an example of how I talk about video games and politics. Hypno Amber, I'm sorry your eyes can't process video games. Maybe your eyes could process like slower paced games, like turn-based games. Yeah, this War of Mine is also very good, but I found that very difficult to play. Oh yeah, no, Sophie, it's absolutely already happening, you know? And now I'm actually sort of happy to have sane friends. Hell yeah, Foxbat. Let's go! Hey, Elenita Express, how you doing? Thanks for coming over to the Riverboat site. Also, if you want to be in the on-screen chat, folks, or watch the stream without any ads, you can come on over to riverboat.gg. Just type that in your URL bar and come on over. And you can watch for free. Let's see here. Meanwhile, I'm playing Factorio. I am the climate crisis. True. All right, back to this lady.
There are 4 ways that you can respond. You can respond with silence, which makes you a debtor. We'll talk about more what that means. You can respond with rejection. Still, you're a debtor. You can respond with unconditional acceptance. Now you are a creditor. Or you can respond with conditional acceptance, also a creditor. So when we're talking about this specific video that the comment is referring to, you are watching this man do an excellent job at conditionally accepting the terms that are being put in front of him. Even the fact that he's showing up in court is a conditional acceptance that he has done whatever injury that they're claiming he has done.
Yeah, like sovereign citizens are so far gone. They're like, yeah, if you even show up in court, you're already ceding the argument. Like they don't believe in using the legal system to like actually solve conflict. You know, they don't believe that that is a path towards doing that. They believe in one-on-one communication, and if you can't do that, well then, oh, what are you gonna do? We're all sovereign citizens. You know what I'm saying? Maybe your rights supersede their rights. Is any of this correct? 0% of it is correct. There is literally no part of anything she's saying that is correct. She is correct in the sense that, like, when a baby is born and birth certificates are filled out, that birth certificate has copies of it made, and, like, you get a copy, the hospital gets a copy, like, different institutions get a copy to, you know, allow bureaucracy to function. But, like, she's literally not correct about anything else. Like, the definition of law, like, she's telling you if you get in legal trouble, not to show up in court. Like, that's what she's telling you right now. And I can tell you, if you don't show up in court, they're either just going to fine you $1 billion, like what happened with Alex Jones, or, you know, probably more commensurate with whatever they're asking you to show up in court to do, or they're going to throw you in jail for not showing up in court, and then they're going to force you to show up in court. You know, like none of what she's saying is true.
Right? So it's a conditional acceptance.
Oh, also, like, she believes like the U.S. is like a legal fiction. Maritime law is imposed upon the U.S. by like international banking conglomerates that control the media. You know, the usual dog whistle for Jews. So like, this is anti-Semitic trash, and also none of it is true. Like, all it's doing is like trying to get you to join a cult that makes you feel kind of special, but offers you no benefits whatsoever.
So when you get like a summons for court, you can conditionally accept it, right? And you say, okay, I conditionally accept blame for whatever it is you're saying I've done, as long as you can prove XYZ. Now, this is so life-changing to learn. At least this has been life-changing for me, because once you learn contract law and you start learning the difference between a debtor and a creditor, you start understanding how to remain honorable.
None of this is true. If you don't show up, if you just send a letter and don't show up to court, they just take you for everything you got. Like, there's like that, like if you're in a civil suit, you then, like, the court just is like, okay, you didn't show up, that's an admission of guilt, we're moving on to like the punitive phase of the civil trial. If you like don't show up for a criminal trial, they're going to arrest you, throw you in jail, and you're going to be forced to show up in court. Like, there's no in between here. Like, her idea is like the surest way to maximize the amount of pain the state can inflict on you.
In everyday life, right? Because we're constantly getting offers. You know, my mom says, will you wash the dishes? That's an offer. I could say, sure, I'll wash the dishes, unconditional acceptance, which makes me a creditor. Or I could, you know, conditionally accept it. I could say, hey,
our resident student of law, Smelanie, that's several years in prison. Yep. Slapped onto whatever else you have. You know, like, this, you want to spend 20 years of your life in prison instead of 5? This is the way to do it.
I'll do the dishes in 30 minutes, right? So I've accepted the offer and I've put a condition on it. So let's talk.
Yes, exactly. T. Smith. I talked about this earlier in stream. You're getting it. This is the Crystal Mommy pipeline. Like, this is the pipeline of like new age spirituality to fash. Like, this is how it works, right? Like, once you're in the new age spiritual community and you kind of are like disconnected from reality, like, you become a prime target for this kind of radicalization. And then once you're in the sovereign citizen pipeline, like, they already believe like 60 to 70% of what like out and out American fascists believe, you know? Yeah, next you're showing up for Moms for Liberty meetings. Exactly.
Talk about the difference between a debtor and a creditor. Let's talk about it in the context of getting a bill, right? So the electric company sends you a bill. You think that is just what it is, right? You just have to pay that bill, but it's an offer, okay? Again, remember, everything is an offer. You can unconditionally or conditionally accept it, or you can choose to respond with silence or rejection, right? Which would make you a debtor. Now, when you're a debtor, that means that an offer has been made to you and you have rejected. So now you owe this person something. You are in debt to them, right? Whereas when you accept something, okay, you accepted, whether it's unconditional or conditional acceptance, you are the creditor now. You don't owe them anything, right? You fulfilled whatever it is that they've put in front of you. And when you look at the energetics of this, I think it's really fascinating to...
Also, this is not how contract law works. Just as an FYI. Just in case you're thinking, well, maybe some of this I could take and make use of. Nope, none of it. None of it. This isn't how contract law works. Don't watch this and be like, I understand contract law now. You don't. You understand nothing. You understand less than before. Your ability to cognitively figure things out, I've made you all dumber.
Think about
For content, of course.
the earth that God created and the ways in which God wants us to operate on this planet.
We do at least realize the media is controlled by entities like the Atlantic Council, major corporations like Pfizer and Lockheed Martin, the Trusted News Initiative, the World Economic Forum, at least, right? Only to the extent that, like, these organizations have relations with, like, the production companies. You know, like, in the sense that, like, you know, the U.S. military or, like, police institutions have relationships with Hollywood that lead Hollywood to make movies where police are portrayed more positively or the military is portrayed positively. Like, that's real. But the idea that, like, Pfizer controls the media, that's not real. That the World Economic Forum doesn't control the media, but the powerful individuals who are billionaires and own media companies certainly do have influence on the media. Jeff Bezos has influence over, like, the Washington Post, for example. Like, the issue here is the idea that, like, these sinister institutions are controlling the media misses the point that the issue is that all of their interests are aligned by capitalism. Capitalism is what is aligning these folks in ways that are negative or detrimental to average working people. Like, that's the issue, right? Like, it's not oh, the World Economic Forum is trying to impose its woke leftist ideology. No, the World Economic Forum is a bunch of, like, extraordinarily wealthy people and organizations coming together to talk about how they can get more wealthy. Like, that's it. I've listened to enough of the conspiracy theories and watched enough of, like, the actual meetings of the World Economic Council. It's just capitalism. It's just capitalism. And the issue is conservatives look at that and refuse the lesson that it's capitalism aligning these interests and instead insert their own cause, which is like, yes, the Jews want to weaken the West by turning the Western men gay or trans. Yes, they want to take away your burgers because they want to destroy the Western way of life. Yes. And the reality is no. They just want to make sure that they continue making money in the next several decades. Hey, Somniostatic. So, like, when we talk about, like, oh, the media is controlled by these entities. Well, no, the media is just controlled by the profit motive. That is what controls all media. Almost all media is beholden to needing to make money. The same with my media, so consider dropping some subs or donos, because if I don't get them, I die. Literally, I can't make this content without you guys, so consider dropping some subs or donos, because I do indeed like greeting each new day with a fervent string of cursing my bad luck. Why are conservatives like this? I mean, how much time do you got? Also, thank you for the $5 Canadian, worshiper of the Olympians. Appreciate it, especially over on YouTube. Conservatives are generally like this for a couple of reasons, and I'm going to try and be quick. Number one would be the Southern Strategy, which is basically the concerted effort of the American conservative movement to co-opt the issue of abortion to radicalize the evangelical population of America into a more political base, following the conservative defeat on the issue of voting rights for minorities like women, African Americans, indigenous people, etc. Following, like, the downfall of, like, Jim Crow laws and, like, integration happening. The Republican Party was in a tight spot, and they pivoted towards activating an evangelical Christian base that had previously not been terribly politically involved prior. And they used the issue of abortion to do that. There are records of them meeting with religious fundamentalist leaders in like the 60s and 70s. This became known as the Southern Strategy. They basically preyed upon the racial animus in the South to radicalize conservatives to their cause. It turned out to be an incredibly successful strategy, and we're still living with the consequences of it, and to some extent the implementation of it to this day. So that's one reason. Another reason is that incredibly wealthy people really like Republican policies because it allows them to keep more of their money. And then they use the additional money that they get to get more power when it comes to the government, like buying governmental favors or, buying their 5th super yacht. And, they want to keep more and more of their money. They want to be the richest person, for a number of reasons that we don't need to get into right now. On top of that, like, you have a bunch of people who have been screwed over at the bottom of this system, who are disaffected, who feel like their rights and their social power or cachet is being stripped away by wokeness. And the reason they feel this way is basically because of propaganda paid for by wealthy Republicans. And on top of that, to some extent, whether they know it or not, their perception is informed by the fact that like minorities have more rights now than they used to. And that means that in comparison, they feel less powerful. And so in order to kind of compensate, they will believe insane things that justify their feelings. And then, like, I mean, we can get into the Civil War too. Like, there are a whole bunch of reasons, but like, to kind of, I feel like I've kind of summed up some of the main ones. Also, like, conspiratorial thinking makes you feel really special, and then you become kind of intellectually trapped to conservatism, because like your alternative is realizing that you've been like allying yourself with like the like incredibly racist, terrible people, or voting for like politicians that are like wanting to kill trans people. And that's a hard pill to swallow. It's a lot easier to just think that your enemies are evil and corrupted in the eyes of God and man and should be eliminated. That's a much easier solution than to acknowledge that maybe you were on the wrong side of history. Plus, like, once they get trapped in that conspiracy bubble, they find a bunch of friends who believe all of the same conspiracy stuff, and they get kind of peer pressured into remaining. It's kind of like how once you join a neo-Nazi gang, it's really, really hard to leave because your entire friend group becomes neo-Nazis who are going to take it incredibly poorly if you try to leave their social circle, right? So, yeah, there's a whole lot of reasons, but I think that kind of sums up some of them. Here we go. Back to contract law.
And I think that a lot of it has to do with contract law, because when you look at natural law or you look at the UCC, which is commercial law, natural law and commercial law are like basically identical. When you look at those things...
No, they're not. What? No. Natural law is not commercial law. No. What? What? Oh, God. Okay, nope. Sorry, that was... Okay, nope. These are not the same thing. These are not the same thing. Do not take this as legal advice.
You start to realize that this is the blueprint. Like, this is how God wants us to operate in the world. So it's been really great for me personally to learn this, because I show up differently, because I understand this concept of being a debtor and being a creditor and remaining honorable versus dishonorable. So Being dishonorable means silent when someone offers you something or rejecting it. That is dishonorable, and that makes you a debtor. If you found this interesting, then I have a whole series where I am doing...
That doesn't... No. I'm sorry. Being dishonorable in court doesn't change your outcome. What? I mean, it makes your outcome worse, I suppose. But so will not showing up to court. This is just insanity.
Sovereignty lessons. You can go ahead and watch the other videos down here, and you can also follow me to get all of the updates for future episodes. Welcome.
Also, so help me God, if I see any of you thinking that you can fix her like last time. Goddamn. Okay, we gotta move on to the next one. Let's go!
Welcome to Sovereignty Lessons. Wanted to take just a very quick minute to tell you about e-statements. This is something you will see a lot when you're signing up for different things. This is from medical thing that
Okay, I do have to admit, I have not seen this one. I have not seen anything about e-statements, so this should be interesting.
I was doing for an appointment.
That was me,
and
sorry.
I was getting signed up with this organization, and they say sign up for e-statements. That's like one of the things that they promote big time. So here's the truth about e-statements. E-statements are an easier way for these companies to take advantage of you. The reason is because they can get away with fraudulent activity more, because when you aren't physically holding something, it's easier to just say, you know, check terms and conditions and just move on with your day, right? Same thing goes for if you have a dispute of something in the e-statement, it's harder for you to respond to it because then you have to go on their website, look for the dispute portal, try to figure that out. Whereas when you receive paper mail, you can just respond to the address given on the mail.
Okay, so email email is a scam. Email is a scam where you give up your rights, guys. I'm sorry. This is how you're finding it out just now. She's so gone, dude.
Mail with the piece of mail that you have with a written letter that you're sending, right? So when we're doing something called the private administrative process, which we haven't talked about in the sovereignty lesson.
Nah, she's not just a boomer. We have, like, I have boomers in my community. None of them think this. Not a single goddamn one. Don't put this on boomers. This is squarely on all of us, unfortunately.
Lessons yet, but I will be making a video on it. But when you're doing a private administrative process, which is very commonly used for debt disputes, debt discharge, when you're doing that, the
Boomerism
easiest thing
mindset.
you can do is
I like
have
that.
the physical bill that you are responding to, right? Because then you have an address from which it is sent. Otherwise, when you're doing e-statements, it's way easier for them to take advantage of you. So my recommendation is don't sign up for e-statements. I know it's not as convenient, but the devil works with convenience, okay? He specifically...
I'm sorry, e-statements are of the devil? The devil... I love the idea that the devil is hard at work in just, like, a mid-tier office building, working to, like, do coding to put together e-statements. E-statements? E-satans? Oh, the code has been broken. Oh, Foxbat. Yeah, this is the bubblegum millennium. This is truly the South Korea. We live in the South Korean Mark of the Beast music video. Let's go.
Makes things more convenient so that we are more likely to contract with him and to get taken advantage of. So, hope this helped y'all. If you like this lesson, please follow me. And
God, if you are likely to be taken advantage of, do not use these videos for advice. Think about it, baby. Seems like nobody cares about Palestine anymore. We talked about Palestine earlier in the stream. We're probably going to be talking about Palestine again later. Let us have our moment laughing at domestic terrorists in the making.
And watch the other videos in the Sovereignty series. Welcome to Sovereignty Lessons.
Okay, next one. Let's go. Wait, sorry. Sometimes I need to look at these top comments. A statement with dollar amounts are also bonds/coupon/vouchers for tender of payment and interest assignments. So what can I do if they can't provide me the master bill of my water bill? I live in an apartment. They said the information is confidential because we're many in the same building, but they charge me monthly around $200 in water. I can't live like that. This is the other thing, right? A lot of people want to believe in a conspiracy that explains their, like, day-to-day inconveniences, you know?
I have heard it said that the Bible is
Oh boy. Adam and Eve's story is about contract law, baby. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, dude.
a masterclass in commerce, and I'm studying commerce right now, specifically.
I'm sorry, Adam and Eve is a master story about commerce? Man, it really tells you something when your story is about, like, two people being married by God, and, like, you're like, ah, yes, this is a commercial transaction. Jesus Christ, dude.
Contracting, which is a big part of commerce, and I have been reading this document that goes over the basics of contracting, and it compares stories or elements from the Bible with contracting. So I wanted to read this to you guys, and if you want the full document, then you can join the Empowered Collective Facebook group in my bio, and I'll upload it there. So if you wish to truly understand and master contracting, it will be highly useful if you see the biblical nature underlying its entirety. How so? Humans were created by God. I was an atheist through most of my life. Now I will offer that if you don't believe that God sent his one son down to pay your debts, you have bigger problems than masks. This is not...
Girl, what hurt you? You were doing so good, and then you just, I don't know, did you just stick your head out the window and, like, smack into a tree? Like that one scene from Hereditary? Like, did that happen, but your head stayed on? Like, what happened? You must lack nuance to not see the business side of Adam and Eve, Kappa. Hey Al. God. Show us where the commerce hurt you, indeed.
Not entirely irrelevant, as our entire commercial system has both feet planted firmly in Scripture. One of the most important aspects of the nature of existence is free will.
It does not, by the way.
We were given dominion over this realm, and we were given everything we needed to be comfortable and happy and to flourish.
In case any of you were silly enough to be like, ah, yes, this sounds legit. Remember, it's not. Please do not become a cultist.
There was a tree of life from which we could eat that provided massive regenerative powers. The atmosphere was much different, with more oxygen that allowed humans to run and move for extended distances without becoming...
Oh no. Okay. So part of this chat is that she is a literalist. She believes the Bible is literally true. So, like, kind of the people who think that the Earth is only like 6,000 years old kind of shit. They make arguments like this to explain how, like, Moses lived for like 700 years. Well, the atmosphere was different, you see, so it allowed us to live longer, and, well, it had a different chemical composition that made us be able to run faster and lift boulders the size of 10 men. Like, no. How can it be a cult if I don't sign a contract? True. Checkmate, atheists. They cut the cool stuff out of the Bible. Yeah, they cut all the angel fucking out of the Bible.
I didn't know my water bill is satanic. Is electricity satanic too? Better stop paying my bills. That will go well for me, I'm sure. Also, Snipe White name BWA.
GamerG, thank you for gifting Elenita Express a sub. I appreciate it. Hope they do too. And let's make sure that gets added to our amount. Your contribution just unlocked another video. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you so goddamn much. I'm sensing mysticism. Just a bit. Just a bit. Also, since my makeup is going to be done shortly, I'm going to be changing into my stream outfit because you guys actually unlocked my better outfit change. So I will no longer be Comfy Jack. I will be Spicy Jack. Spicy Boat Jack. Let's go.
Becoming wary. But we were not created to be prisoners, and we were given free will. A necessary element of this free will was to choose not to have all that we had at our disposal. A result of the garden was the lack of contracting. One does not have to enter into
Are you... This literally feels like a bit from Good Omens. Oh yeah, you know, Adam and Eve would have been fine if they had just, you know, been a bit more into contract law. They should have taken the contract law course that God was offering, and they'd be fine.
contract to get what they want when everything needed is at hand. So God placed in the garden a fruit, and this fruit could be partaken of freely. There were realms of existence prior to the creation of man. God is the ultimate creator. As a creator, what does he do? I'm
sorry. Wait. I'm not. You can't just gloss over that. There were realms of existence prior to the creation of man. Tell me more about that. What realms were these? Were these the realms of Middle Earth? Were they the realms of the Seven Kingdoms? Like which realms are you talking about here?
What do creators do? They create. What does a perfect creator create? He creates wonderfully complex and free beings. Adam was given dominion over this realm by God. Adam was also given dominion over Eve. Lucifer had already fallen from God's graces prior to man's creation. He became Satan.
Wait, okay. She's going off script here, all right? First of all, if you're somebody who believes in like the fall of Satan and like have that in a timeline, I need you all to understand, even if you're a Christian, the fall of Lucifer is like apocrypha. That's not part of the Bible. There's no part of the Bible that talks about Satan falling from grace. Okay? That's actually later editions. Following like the Renaissance and like the Paradise Lost. Like, Paradise Lost is what popularized the concept of Satan in, like, Christian, the Christian mythos, you know? What she's talking about here is stuff like, I think, like, Book of Enoch type stuff. The Book of Enoch, for those of you who don't know, like, Christian Apocrypha, which, you know, is probably most of you, essentially is about like the fall of angels from heaven and the fall of Lucifer. It is not considered textual.
Hail.
It's not considered part of the Bible.
You wanted a sub. You've got one. Equals D bringing the BWA energy and paying it forward, my friends. Less than 3.
Ukrainian, thank you for gifting Smelanie a sub. Also, Smelanie, I love your username. And also, like, man, Dante's Inferno definitely contributed as well. Like the idea of like hell being having like a physical tiered space. But also like the rapture isn't biblical. Like so much of what evangelical Christians believe is not actually from the Bible. And like the Book of Enoch is where you get like the idea that like giants are the result of humans interbreeding with fallen angels. This is where you get like the idea of like these kind of like demonic forces, the idea being that these fallen angels became demons. There's the Nephilim. Like it's all like wild, insane stuff. I think like Book of Enoch mentions like giant lizard-like monsters. Like it's crazy stuff, and they cut that all out. In the in the church councils to kind of that went into codifying the Bible. Yeah. So, like, when she's talking about this, I just need you guys to know she is going off book, even for, like, religious fundamentalists.
Satan hated this new being to whom God had given dominion over this realm. Eve was tricked. Satan got Eve to question what God had told them, and he said to the woman, "Has God indeed said, 'You shall not eat of every tree of the garden'?" And the woman said to the serpent, "We may eat the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, 'You shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die.' Then the serpent said to the woman, 'You will not surely die, for God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil.' So Eve ate of the fruit, but nothing happened, because the lease of this realm was not held by Eve, it was held by Adam. What did Adam do? He
Adam had the lease? The lease was in Adam's name, chat. No, I refuse. I refuse. Are you kidding me?
He ate of the fruit as well. At that point, a contract was established between Adam and Satan. Satan made an offer, Adam accepted. The lease of this realm passed from Adam to Satan, and Satan holds this lease to this very day illegally. And thus, man...
Oh, Satan is illegally holding Adam's lease. I don't think any of this is how contract law works, guys. I don't think any of this is how it works. There's no fixing her. Satan's illegal lease. Yeah, Adam accidentally gave Satan his birth certificate.
And descended into contract. It is what is meant by knowing good and evil. Prior to that incident, Adam and Eve did not need to contract, but when you begin contracting, you see good and evil being done. God knew.
Man, it'd be so cool if she was talking about, like, when you begin contracting, like, she's talking like an anime monologue of exposition about, like, how a certain setting where, like, I don't know, a bunch of teenagers are running around making contracts with demons, which is basically what Digimon is. Like, she's basically trying to pitch us the idea that reality is all Digimon.
We would need the tools necessary to manage commerce until he returns. That is what the good book does for us. Hence, the Bible being a masterclass in commerce.
Okay.
Take court, for instance. What do most people do when they feel the scales of commerce are not balanced in a manner in which they are involved? They sue. Then a justice, in quotations, the judge, is actually a justice. If you look up the definitions for justice and banker in Black's Law Dictionary, at least the early edition, you will find they are nearly synonymous, if not the same. A justice is a banker. He is making sure the scales are balanced. Two kids are playing with a toy. One feels he is not getting his fair share of play with it, and suddenly there's a shout, "Mom, Dad, Joey isn't letting me play with the toy." So now an authority figure, a justice, has to step in and handle two debtors. That is what is happening when you immediately sue someone. You don't have an agreement with the other party, and you are immediately hollering for an authority figure to fix it. Jesus said, "Moreover, if thy brother shall trust..."
Yeah, no, exactly. This is ANCAP brain rot. It will destroy your life. It will destroy the lives of those around you, and it will, like, at worst, like, spread to other people. You know?
"Pass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother." Matthew 18:15.
Don't sue people who break their contracts with you. Got ya.
What is Jesus saying here? Go to your brother first. And that is what the commercial administrative process revolves around. Never go to court unless you have an agreement with...
Yeah, this is true. I should add a warning, a cognito hazard warning to this. This is actually, like, your brain, if you're susceptible to this, could lead you down this road. So I'm trying my best to make fun of it and also repeatedly tell you guys, This is all bullshit. Trigger warning stupidity.
The other party. So this is why it's important when you're going through the process of the private administrative process and you're discharging debts and going through all of that. It's important that you remain honorable and you follow the process to a T, right? And make sure that you are establishing all of the contract terms, which obviously don't exist because you never contracted with that entity in the first place, or they tricked you into thinking that you are a debtor when you're actually the creditor of the debt that they claim you owe, right? Whatever it is, a car loan, a student loan, whatever. So I hope that's helpful for y'all. Again, y'all can find this document in the Facebook group, the Empowered Collective. It's linked in my bio, so go on over there if you want the rest of the document. It's 47 pages long and it just goes over the basics of contracting. I have heard it said.
Oh my god. Okay, also, while she was finishing that up, I started looking at the comments and just like, excellent video, thank you. Interesting statement. I see where you're going with this. And then, just like The Wizard of Oz was about the Federal Reserve. I'm sorry, what?
This woman heard the devil went down to Georgia and thought that was based on a true story.
True.
Let's keep up the BWA energy, Chatterinos.
Yo, thank you for the 2 gifted tier 1 subs, Gamergy. I see you're joining in the war against the white names in Riverboat chat, and I appreciate it. So yeah, the best I can recall from like going over The Wizard of Oz is that no, I don't think that's a joke, because there is some speculation that The Wizard of Oz was written in like, you know, early 1900s to be about the gold standard. But the issue is, it wasn't about how great the gold standard was. Like, this interpretation of The Wizard of Oz is about how actually, like, the author was criticizing the gold standard because people wanted to bring it back. Like, Charlie in YouTube chat learned about it in high school. Yeah, no, it was criticizing the idea of the gold standard. Like, but apparently conservatives saw that grain of an idea and were like, ah, yes, it's criticizing the gold standard, i.e. the Federal Reserve. Because again, of course, sovereign citizens want to eliminate the Federal Reserve. It's like one of their things. They want to eliminate it and bring back the gold standard, despite the fact that would absolutely decimate the economy. I cannot stress enough to you guys how going back to the gold standard would completely obliterate like modern commerce as it exists today. You know? The shoes were supposed to be silver, but they're ruby because red is pretty and they just got color. Yeah, she got silver shoes to walk on the yellow brick road. It would be like canceling all your cards and just using whatever change you found in the couch to live on. Yeah.
Before we get
Okay. We're on the last video. Have you guys learned how to be sovereign citizens yet? Here we go.
into the meat and potatoes here, I wanted to chat with you guys about who owns the name. So after you follow this process, you will have control of the name, but you will not be the owner of the assumed name. The state still owns the name because they created it.
They want full gold standard. Like, this is why a lot of sovereign citizens, like, buy gold. Because they believe it's going to be the new standard again.
In the first place, using your birth certificate, which they converted into a certificate of birth, which means a registration. So if you're not familiar with that process, I highly recommend.
Never understood the gold standard. I mean, the gold standard made sense in an era where, like, collecting gold was relatively easy. Whereas like today, like active gold mines are crazy hard to run. Like, but it was a lot easier when you could just like pan for gold, you know? And like when we're talking about like, you know, basically any time between like deep history and like, I don't know, the 1800s-ish, like late 1800s, like gold makes sense as a means of storing value because of its inherent scarcity, right? But the issue is once you have a globalized economy and you instead are basing value on a fiat currency that is largely controlled by one country, then like you can do a lot more things with money by just printing more money, you know? So there's like a lot of utility to that. How do these people breathe? Like, do they need a reminder on their phone? Yes, they do. Also, thank you for the $5 Canadian. I appreciate it. Let's go.
I really recommend you go look at my playlist called Sovereignty Lessons and look at the video where I talk about the birth certificate
Are
process.
you saying I can't find chunks of gold in the river? I'm saying you could, but it's a lot harder than it used to be.
What I will say before we get further into this is you do not have a first, middle, last name. Okay, so that is something that was created by the state using your given name and your family name.
Well, so part of it, Snugan, is that they believe that the virtue of gold being a scarce resource, a scarce finite resource, would lead to more economic stability without, like, economic crashes every so often. The issue with that calculation is that, like, capitalism is what causes economic crashes, not, like, the gold standard doesn't prevent that.
So you have a given name.
No one has a name.
Going to be
Nope.
what we traditionally consider your first.
My dude,
middle
thank you for the
name.
raid.
So
Welcome,
my
raiders.
First and middle name are.
We are doing a subathon for silly, wild content. Let's go. Hey, Real Radham, how you doing? Also, folks, go follow Real Radham. Go follow my dude over on Twitch. Both excellent content creators. And Real Radham, I've appreciated seeing you fight the good fight against Warhammer 40k fascies. It is a privilege to follow you on the Bird app. Wouldn't printing dollars lower the value of other dollars, and currency is now traded relative to each other's total economy, GDP of the country with the currency, dictating exchange rate? The actual valuation of currency varies on a lot of different factors, but essentially, the United States is able to keep the value of its dollar relatively stable by leveraging its military on the global stage, and also due to the fact that other countries have vested interests in keeping the value of the dollar stable, so that, you know, their investments aren't devalued. Also, basically, you would run into the problem of printing more money, lowering the value of dollars, except that there's a lot of other factors at play keeping that value in place, and also effectively, like, being able to leverage yourself as the dollar, as the monetary form by which all other nations base their currency, by being the petrol dollar on which oil itself is valued, like, keeps the US currency very stable despite the fact that it is printed at crazy rates, you know? Yeah, exactly. It's the only currency used to buy oil from OPEC. It is the petrol dollar. Yeah, honestly, like, again, things have value based on, like, the social value we ascribe to them, as, like, a society, a global society, even. Like, the dollar could be, like, I think a good example of this is, like, that currency that existed as stone rings. Oh god, where was that? Stone ring currency. Yeah, the rye stones. Yeah. So this is an example of what used to be used as currency in the island nation of in the Yap Islands in Micronesia. There you go. So basically, they would just use these giant stone rings, and the bigger the ring, the more valuable it was. But they wound up getting so large that basically, even if you didn't physically possess the stone, the rye stone, if you owned it, people would recognize your ownership of it, and like it could still be transferred even if you weren't physically giving them the stone, right? This is a way by which like other nations and cultures have invented like fiat currency effectively, and like there's a famous case of in the Yap Islands where this took place. One of the ships went down with a massive like royally sized rye stone, and even though it was sunk at the bottom of the ocean, people remembered that it was there and still continued to exchange it, even though no one physically had it. It wasn't physically a place you could go and see it, but it still maintained its value and was still traded in this society. And that's really interesting. It's a really interesting case study. It, like, definitely look up more about the rye stone currency if this is something that interests you, you know?
Are Elizaveta Ivanovna. So my first and middle name, but that's my given name. That's not actually a middle name, that's just your given name. And you'll see why I say that when we actually get into the tutorial. Now, then we have your family name, also known as your surname. So my family name is Dovgish. It's Russian, I know it sounds weird. And your name, your surname, your family name is whatever you consider to be your last name.
Are you talking about those stone discs? Yeah, those are called rye stones. And thank you for the $5 dono. I appreciate it. Let's go, folks. Oop. 49, baby.
Name. And your given name is going to be whatever you consider to be your first and middle name. Not everybody has a middle name, so your given name might just be one name, right? Mine happens to be two. So that's a little bit about your name and kind of what the state does with that name and how they create this legal fiction out of your name and create this illusion of you having a first, middle, last name, when really nobody on this planet actually has a middle name. Everybody has a family name.
If you have a middle name, it's made of lies. Lies! Are you kidding me, dude? Sovereign citizens, yes, Chris Socks. But this is the last video on the Sovereign Citizen playlist, just as an FYI. We are near the end of the Sovereign Citizen section, and then we'll move on to other sections. Chai T-Rex, thank you for the $5 dono. And now we're at 51. You guys keep unlocking this content. My goodness, we're not even going to get to the other portions of the stream today. We made it. You made it to 51. Let's go. Hello, Zephont. How you doing?
And a given name. Let's keep chatting now.
By the way, I love her. I love her specifically. I love her because she keeps just dropping like short, like sentence long asides that hint at like absolutely insane shit. Like, oh yeah, your middle name doesn't exist. And then she just moves on. It's wonderful.
The system banks on you being uninformed and therefore out of...
Yes. The system does bank on you being uninformed. Said with absolutely no self-reflection.
Compliance with the law, which states that a living man or woman cannot do business, that only a business entity can do business. So when you register your business, your assumed name, which was created without your knowing, and start doing business as that entity, you come into
Yeah, so if you submit your birth certificate to the government, you are incorporated as a business within the government, which is also a business, by the way. Like, this is just insane garbage.
compliance with the law, which is the system's biggest nightmare, because now you control the name by having it registered. When you control the name, you are no longer claiming to be your assumed name and are legally recognizing it as a business entity that is separate from you as a living man or woman. When you no longer claim to be the assumed name, you can opt out of these voluntary systems we've been coerced into participating in, such as TAXES.
If I had to guess where this person lived, I would guess like Utah. Like there is a strong movement to like create a new country, like a new independent country, and it's basically driven by like far right extremist militias and sovereign citizens who, you know, basically it's far right as you can get.
Or registering your car or getting a driver's license. So I know that some of you guys have already been following some of the sovereignty videos around TikTok where people have private property plates on their cars.
Private property
This
plates.
is what we're talking about here. So the way
Dude.
that you get all of that.
Yeah, bro. Just don't have a license plate. Just put private property on your. You can't be held accountable if you have a license plate that's just a private property sign. They can't pull you over for that. These people say this shit and they don't believe in transgender people. Yeah, they'll invent an entire goddamn new legal system, and then at the same time just be like, but trans people are just crazy. God.
Including debt discharge, is by doing this, because you no longer identify you, the living man or woman, as the legal entity. I'm not saying you have to opt out of these systems. I'm simply saying that now, as the rightful holder.
Wait, when I was around 10, my dad told me I didn't have 2 middle names, but my mom had told me I do. Lol, but on my birth certificate I don't, so in a way, I have a made-up middle name. Makes sense. That, like, yeah, sure. That would make sense, but I don't think that applies for everybody.
Of the assumed name, you can choose to participate in the system or opt out of it. The reason you had to be plugged into these systems in the first place is because all of them are unlawful. Because remember, you as a living man or woman cannot do business. Only corporations can do business. And when you are doing commerce out of compliance with the law,
all names are made up names. True, but she means this in a much more legal sense.
You need systems in place that will give you permission to break the law. So hence they create all these systems that give you permission, right? So this is all you need to know. A license is just a permission to break the law. Once you legally register your assumed name, you're no longer breaking the law and can opt out of systems that were built as a result of your being out of compliance with the law. So licenses includes a marriage license. It includes a driver's license. It includes...
Dude, she's telling people to go just drive around without a license, bro. Yo, this is gonna get so many people arrested.
car registration, a certificate of birth, which is also a registration. So all of these things go under the same umbrella. Now, with that out of the way, I hope that makes sense to you guys. If you have more questions on the topic, please put them in the Discord. Otherwise, when you join the Facebook group, there is a lot of resources in there. Something specific on this topic, if you want to learn even more about the assumed name.
Oh my god, dude. Is it possible to access our Treasury Direct accounts and our Sesti K Trust? What? No, those are not yours. They are the state's. You can discharge your debts, though, and that is a process unto itself. You can start by going to Pat G2 GS2 Freedom on YouTube for Foundation. No! Beware, I've heard this woman is a scammer, but I don't know anything about her. I'm just sharing what I've been told. Yeah, it's almost like sovereign citizenry isn't real and doesn't work. It's crazy. Ooh, can I register my name as an LLC? Your legal entity. Name is already a business. You're just registering it. Like, she thinks your name is your business registry. Real Radham, I would love to see that. Depending on how long it is. Can you whisper it to me? Are the businesses in the room with us right now? Yeah, we got so many businesses in chat right now. Just really are just all brands now, huh? Yeah. Now we're back, baby. Let's go. Where did this nonsense start? Honestly, I think a lot of it happened with the Tea Party, but I'm all like got exacerbated by the Tea Party movement in like the early aughts. But I think it probably pre-existed. I just don't know much about it pre-Tea Party stuff. So, yeah, it started with a dream of tax evasion. And they never looked back. 52. Let's go. Why don't you answer me? Well, probably because I don't speak the language you shared in chat. I'm sorry. It's an Instagram live. I'll include a timestamp. Hell yeah. If you don't register a business and it does not have an EIN number, it legally isn't a business or able to do business, though. Yeah, but she doesn't care because she doesn't know the law. That's the thing. All of the stuff she said was bullshit, mumbo jumbo. That isn't real. You know, like she was talking about this as if she knew anything about law. It doesn't matter how the actual law works because she's so far gone, so deep in this bubble. She would not believe you even if you explained to her, even if a lawyer sat down and was like, here's how the actual law works, you know? Hello, Governor. All right. We got one more. Wait, how long is this? I can't, it's not giving me the option to, maybe I have to log in? Question mark? Okay. God, Instagram is such shit on desktop. Yeah, I can't make it start at 19 minutes. Sorry. Damn it. TikTok at least has like the ability to like choose where you want to be in the video, but like Instagram not so much. All right. I really wanted that car vid to work, but it's not going anywhere. I'm sorry. And we're not watching through 20 minutes to get to the actual content. Can we do a sovereign citizen courtroom react? We can, if one of you over in riverboat.gg finds a, like, 20-minute or less clip. Gotta keep it 100, all right? Keep it where we can see it. Can we do it another day? Well, I need to go get my, like, actual outfit on, and then I'll be right back to do more content with all y'all. Fine folk. What is this? Okay, but I can't use A&E. That's the issue, right? A&E does do copyright, and I'm, you know, we're in the middle of our copyright fortress arc, okay, chat? They gotta be clips that are not claimed by a network, all right? That might make it more difficult. Was just about to mention the bombings. Most U.S. domestic terrorists believe sovereign citizen stuff and all other conspiracies. Yeah, I mean, like, once you're deep into, like, a far-right militia, like, you'll believe anything, right? Like, most people who wind up that far radicalized in conservative politics believe some degree of what she's talking about, you know? Okay. So I'm gonna go change my clothes